The film begins with an old black and white movie about an adventure named Child Month, which is an example to follow for a little Mr. Fredrickson. In this movie, we can see all the adventure he has had in his life and the discovery of a species which will be very important in this story. We can see that this little boy wants to grow up to be like his hero. He's somehow shy and a little insecure, but that never stopped him from being like his hero.
So Carl was walking on the street when he had a balloon on his hand when he heard some noises in an abandoned house in front of him. So he went there and checked it in, and he got scared by Ellie screaming at him like so close, and his balloon went to the roof of the house, and just there Ellie invited him to the explorer group, and then they went to reach the balloon that was on the roof of the house, but a wooden plank that was there for crossing the balloon broke and causes Carl a broke arm, and then Ellie visited him on his house.
Ellie tells Carl about his dream of living in the cataracts, and then Carl promises him to one day take Ellie to the cataracts and live there. In the number 5, Ellie and Carl get married and start a life together. They buy the old house of Ellie and get more beautiful.
When Ellie and Carl get married, they decided to buy an abandoned house which they use it as a base when they are kids. When they move on, we can see a time lapse of how their relationship has evolving and how the time goes by the time were remodeling their house. And we clearly see their desire to be a parent someday. Perhaps they get the bitter notice about inability to have kids, but this didn't stop them from having a happy life, and they spent their life together until one day Alice gets seriously sick and eventually lost her life, and this event makes Carl's bitter, and this leads him to life.
After the terrible event in Carl's life, some nurses arrived at his house with the intention of taking him to a nursing home, to which he kindly asked for a moment to say goodbye to his beloved house. And just when they turned around, balloons sprout from the roof, leaving all the population who saw the house go speechless, watching the house flying. In that moment, before the grable event, he noticed that someone is knocking on the door, and when he opened it, he realized that it's a Boy Scout named Russell who was trying to get an exploring medal helping old people. Russell asks Carl if he needs help, and Carl says no, that he doesn't need help in anything. But Russell remains insistent, so Carl makes up a story of a crowd that bothers him, and all this as an excuse from Carl to make Russell leave. Returning to the moment when the house is in the air, Carl realizes that again someone is knocking on the door, but this time it seems completely strange since it is impossible for someone to be at the door waiting. But when Carl opens,
After the asylum worker went for Carl, he asked them for a few seconds. Many balloons came out of the chimney of his house, lifting it, going through the city when suddenly smoke knocked on the door. It was Russell had been accidentally trapped in the house of Carl watching the raven he had asked for. Suddenly a thunderstorm was approaching. Carl tried to turn around, but it was impossible. The house was moving too much. He tried to save the most important things. When the storm passed, they descended down. To their surprise, they realized that they were in the waterfall of paradise. However, they reached the opposite point of the falls. Their mission was to head to the right side. Along the way, they encountered a gigant bear named Kevin and dog named Doug. When being cornered by the dogs that were chasing Kevin, Mutsapir sees his flying house and is surprised by what is invites them to dinner in his airship guy adventure spirit. He showed them the most valuable collectible he had. When it was time for dinner, Carl told Moons that it was his wife's idea to live at the falls. When Moons showed them what he was working on, Carl realizes that the monster form the falls that Moons wanted to capture to regain its reputation is Russell's friend, Kevin. Realizing that they know he began to speak mysterious and threatening that they realized they were in danger. After the asylum worker went for Carl, he asked them for a few seconds. Many balloons came out of the chimney of his house, lifting it, going through the city when suddenly smoke looked on the door. It was Russell had been accidentally trapped in the house of Carl watching the raven he had asked for. Suddenly a thunderstorm was approaching. Carl tried to turn around, but it was impossible. The house was moving too much. He tried to save the most important things. When the storm passed, they descended down. To their surprise, they realized that they were in the waterfalls of paradise. However, they reached the opposite point of the falls. Their mission was to head to the right side. Along the way, they encountered a giant bird named Kevin and dog named Doug.
After what was apparently a warm welcome from Mons to the guys, Mons the aviator reveals his true intention with the group because he's pretty interested in Kevin. Kevin is the blue big beard, uh, because it's apparently a very exotic and rare species, and obviously Russell refused to this, and Mons proves not be as good as he seemed because he ordered to a group of dogs to attack the group of guys, to Russell, Kevin, Carl, and Doug. And after an epic scene of shooting and explosions, Carl with a brilliant move saved Russell, Doug, Kevin just a second before the house fell into the void.
In this last scene, Russell ends his adventure as an explorer guide, waiting for the delivery of his badges according to his assigned task as explorers. And it's there when Carl gives him his badges that was previously him. They put it next to all their other badges, and at the end of it all, Russell and Carl go to eat the ice cream with Doug. And this is when this movie ends.